Hello and welcome to our very special show on GST. Have you upgraded your systems to adhere to the new tax regime? How will your billing change under the GST? All your questions will be answered by our experts on this very show. You can send us your emails on askaboutgst@ndtv.com. You can even call us and ask your questions to our guest. We have with us Gaurav Garg as well as Mr. Ashwini Kumar joining us in our studios here. Sorry, we have Mr. Prakash Sinha, who's joining us in our studios here. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us on NDTV. Now, wanted to check with you, Gaurav, now that GST has rolled in, what is of critical importance to traders, to shopkeepers? We are assuming that most of them have registered.
Okay. See, the first thing that we need to do today is, when I would be doing the transactions with the customer, I need to raise an invoice. Correct. So now the retail invoice, the format, we used to call it a retail invoice, that is no more. So there is a taxable invoice or a bill of supply.
Yeah.
So if you are a composite dealer, you need to issue the bill of supply, whereas if you are a normal registered person, you need to issue the taxable invoice. So first thing we need to put it in a correct position is our invoice formats that we are issuing to a customer.
Okay, Gaurav, some anecdotal, evidence we're picking up, speaking to our friends, that when they are going to these small stores, they're still be given, a handwritten bill, and no carbon copies, just regular handwritten bills, So, the government said even handwritten bills will go. You put it in the invoice format, and you just keep putting the invoice details there. So, how does it work now? Do they have to keep a copy of the bill handed out?
So, see, there is no problem in handwritten bill, but it needs to suffice the format or the information required in the tax invoice.
Okay.
As far as how many invoices or what copy we need to keep, at least there should be 2 copies. One that they will hand it over to the recipient or to the buyer, and second copy they need to keep for themselves. And if the goods involve movement, through the transport, then they need to issue a 3rd copy which will go to the transporter. So apparently no problem in handbills, but they should suffice the new regulations.
They have to meet the regulations. That's the most important thing.
In fact, I would like to add this one. In fact, government has already told that there should be, particularly for the supply of goods are concerned here, there should be 3 copies of the invoice. Okay. Original, duplicate and triplicate. They have already mentioned in the rule also here. Okay. And for the services, there will be 2 invoices only.
Right, but how does one ensure that this is being done at a very small scale level?
Yeah.
How is it? How can the government ensure that this is being done?
Apparently, if your turnover is less than 20 lakh, you need not register. I think that is the benefit given to the small business guys. And if their turnover is up to 75 lakh, they can take for a composite they can take the composite scheme. But how to ensure is something that is something they need to do. So through you, we are telling they need to have 3 copies of invoices. So please take it on record that you need to have 3 copies on invoices, 1 for yourself, 2nd for your customer, and 3rd for the transporter in case transportation is involved. But for sure, it is the responsibility casted on the supplier.
All right. I think we've started getting some queries. I think we have Kush on the phone line with us. Kush, good afternoon. Go ahead, ask your question.
I hope this is for me. My name is Koshi, and I want this is very small issue that I have. I saw the list of the rates which were given, and somehow it was not mentioned for imitation jewelry. Well, it was starred at the end and said that anything that was not mentioned specifically would be charged at 18%. I'm kind of wondering whether it is at 18%. Imitation jewelry. I mean, these things are not, they are not, what do you call, fancy products. So why are we being charged at 18%? Completely baffles me.
All right. I don't think our guest would have an answer to that, but Mr. Sinha, what would you say? He should assume it's 18%, or would you be aware of another rate?
I feel that the jewelry, particularly also the intimating jewelry, has been covered in the Schedule 6. And Schedule 6 talks about the rate of 3% here.
3%?
Yeah.
So it's not 18%?
It's not 18% here. So okay. Schedule 6 they have already covered, particularly these items also.
Okay, so in
So
schedule,
please check these ones here.
so please check on schedule 6 again. Mr. Sinha feels that the rate is actually 3% on imitation jewelry. We have an email that has come in from Dennis Vaz. Now Dennis is asking, his question is, how will renewable energy business like solar electric systems be impacted under the GST? Mr. Sinha, I believe that solar energy is being taxed at a high rate. Many of those products are taxed at, I think, either 18 or 28%. Is that right? And how does it compare to the existent taxes?
Look, I agree that solar energy sector will be impacted here. Particularly here, the output of the solar energy sector is not taxable here. And they will have the huge parking of the input tax here, which they won't be able to take the credit here. So I understand that there is a concern there, particularly in the case of solar energy, because the power is not covered under the GST.
Yeah.
Transmission and distribution is already exempted from the GST here.
Okay.
So there will be a parking of the, this one, say you can say the input tax will be parked in their PL here. So that will be impact on their bottom line.
What does that mean? Like if I make PV cells and I then sell it to a power maker who puts up a plant, won't the plant maker be able to take the input credit of the PV cell?
Plant will not able to take the input tax credit of that part here, because the output here, the output, there will be no liability on account of that part here.
So he doesn't get an input tax credit.
Yeah,
so he absorbs the entire 28%.
He has to absorb that one.
Okay, so that does sound not very encouraging for the solar energy space. We have with us our next caller. We have Furqan Jan, who's joining us from Srinagar. Furqan, good afternoon. What's your question?
Good afternoon. My name is Surya and I'm calling from Andhra. Hello?
Yes, can you tell us your name again?
Surya. Do you want me to spell that for you?
No, Surya. Go ahead, ask your question.
Calling from Andhra.
Yes. My question is, see, we have registered ourselves with the GST registration process. However, we have got this GST number on a personal PAN card number. But when we are trying to change that particular enrollment, we are unable to change it. We have tried all the best ways to change the PAN card number, which was registered earlier, but we are unable to change that particular PAN card number to the form PAN card number. So we are totally unaware what to do at this time.
Got it. Do you have a suggestion for him?
So for any technical issues which they are facing while registration, my advice would be to contact to the GSTN guys or write an email to them or try to call them, because those guys would be able to assist them in sorting out the issue.
All right, so look at calling either a Suvidha Kendra. There are 34 of them that have been registered by the government. You can find the list on the gstn.org site and call them and ask how to get how to solve the problems that you all are having when it comes to migration. We have Furqan Jan joining us from Srinagar now. Furqan, good afternoon. What's your question?
Good afternoon. My question is, wouldn't an average rate between 10 to 20% be the correct rate for the GST in the longer run, as 28% is too high a rate?
Okay. See, we need to understand that we are a country with diversified economic groups. You know, we cannot tax, and this is a famous example Mr. FM is using everywhere. We cannot tax Audi or BMW and Hawaii Chappal at the same rate. So, in the long run, I attended one of the conferences of the FM, and I think in the long run, probably this 12% and 18% rate may come down to 15% will get merged. But as far as commodities like luxury cars are concerned, you know, we're going to see rate at 28% only.
Okay. Let's see if we have with us our next caller. We have Arjun joining us from Jaipur. Arjun, good afternoon. What's your question? Arjun, can you hear us? I think we're still trying to get that connection right, but in the interim, let's take up an email that we have received from Amit Ladha. He says, I've got a flat from a builder who has got completion and occupancy certificate. My first payment was made after the builder received the completion and occupancy certificate. So I was not charged service tax and VAT tax. will I be charged any tax after July when GST comes into effect? What
No.
would you say?
I don't think so here, because in the law they have itself prescribed that if the building has already been completed or the occupation has already been done there, so that will be not be part of the goods that will go for the this one. On that the service tax was not charged earlier also.
Okay.
And again in the GST regime, the GST will not be charged here.
Will not be charged.
Yeah.
Whatever be the remaining payment, right?
Yeah.
So it is excluded from the GST part. It is a immovable property transaction on which GST is not applicable.
But I believe in real estate, for the under construction properties, you still have to pay a tax on 2/3 of the property.
So it depends
including land cost.
when what you are transferring. So if you are
Yeah.
transferring after the completion, receiving the certificate,
No G-
in that
no
case no
GST.
GST. But if during the construction you are transferring, then there is a rate of
GST.
18% on the construction services. And if it is including land value, the 18% would be charged on the 2/3 of the total
Which makes it
consideration.
12%.
No, on that show when we were discussing 12, now it is only 18.
18, okay.
18 on 2/3 of the total consideration, wherein land is involved.
Okay.